Hello, I'm Chara and welcome back to my creepy Catwalk commentary, the show where I discuss each and every episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5. So I have not slept very much in the last week or so I am like on sanity's edge. So this is what you get. I hate this makeup, I hate this look, I just grabbed something and threw it on and called it a day. This is what you get, deal with it. Alright, so before we get into this episode, some housekeeping things. Monsters of Rock look is finally done. Here you go. And as always, be sure to go follow me over on TikTok so you can get the behind the scenes look and my design process for this one. We're almost caught up. One day we will be, I hope. Let's get into the episode. These clowns in this opening sequence, I hate them. I hate them a lot. I don't want to see them on my TV. Based on the script, I definitely got glow in the dark, something UV reactive, but I was not expecting it to be the challenge that it was. I was thinking it was going to be more like a carnival theme, which I thought they could really do something fun with, like a haunted, broken down, abandoned amusement park sort of vibe. But alas, that's not what they did, and I'm disappointed by that. It's a new day in the lab, everybody's really confident Fantasia's returning, and lo and behold, no one is surprised when Fantasia walks back into the room. And in tow has an alien baby that kind of looks like the Grinch. Blackberry gets congratulated on her win last week, but maybe she's a little too versatile because they don't know her one thing. Here's my issue with that. Being able to be versatile as a drag artist is how you stay booked. It's how you stay busy. If you are known for being able to do a wide variety of things, then show directors are going to go, great, I know they're gonna be able to do this theme, do this type of look, do that, whatever, and do it well. But on a show like Dragula, they don't want versatility. They want you to find one thing that you're good at, and then that's all you do. God knows they will praise you for doing one thing repetitively, as long as you do it well. Orgotic. And speaking of orgotic, I am once again begging the editors at the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5, stop putting in romance storylines. I'm so tired of it. Nobody wants them. Are they a cute couple? Yes. Do I wish them all the best in the world and whatever they choose to do? Go for it, by all means. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a curmudgeon. Maybe I've just been single too long. I don't want to see romance in my drag competitions. Frankly, at this point, I hope they both suck in the challenge and they get put in the bottom two together. It would be great TV, and it would make me very happy. So the Boulets appear to deliver the challenge, and this week, inspired by 1980s haunted houses and black light rooms, which I did not even know was a thing because I, 1, was not alive in the 80s, and 2, don't go to haunted houses. Just on principle. My instinct, if something jumps out at me, I start swinging. I'll deck them. Like, you don't do that to me. Like that first week, the scare actors that were in the woods, if one of them, God so help their souls, jumped out at me with a taser, I would be punting them into next week for it. Anyways, for this challenge, they are asked to do a neon classic haunted house monster. It must be UV reactive because the big gag with this challenge is that the look needs to be one way in the normal lighting, and then once the lights turn off and the black lights turn on, there needs to be a second look revealed underneath it that completely transforms the character. This is a wild challenge that conceptually sounds so cool, but I don't know if they keep the challenges really vague in production when the monsters are told what the challenges are in advance versus what they're told on the screens when they're filming the show. This is now the second week where the Boulets are like, well, none of what we saw on stage today was what we wanted to see for this challenge. Again, I have opinions about that, big surprise. This week also marks the return of the Fright Feet, once again hosted by the incomparable Coco Kane, and for this challenge, the monsters have to paint their face in 10 minutes with a 99-cent store Halloween makeup kit. Torture. That's what that is. That's torture right there. And there's some stakes with this Fright Feet too, because the winner of the Fright Feet is automatically given immunity. Also, I just want to take a second to say once again, Coco looks incredible. Big surprise to no one. She always does. Gorgeous in this pink moment. Love, love, love this. The hair is immaculate. Throb wins the Fright Feet. Wahoo. More of him on my TV. Can't wait. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to win it. I don't know who I thought was going to win. We see that Cynthia is very much hungry for the win. She's the only monster left without one, so this is kind of a do or die moment for her. And we also get some notes from Orgotic this week, who is feeling kind of nervous going into this challenge because they don't really understand the reference point. In the lab this week, we actually see some fairly in-depth processes into the design and the crafting and the technical work that's going into their looks this week. This is the stuff I want to see more of. This felt like the longest segment of that we've had all season, and to me, that's what I wanted. And I know they said at the beginning in their podcast reviews that there would be longer ones as the season went on and there were less people because they can't put all that in the beginning because there's just too many people in the room. Whatever. I think it's bullshit, frankly. Get rid of the reality drama. Show us more of this. Show us more of the skills, because this is stuff that like people could use at home, you know, who are creatives, who are artists, who want to do special effects things. And I would have really liked to see more of that throughout the competition. I thought it was really interesting. Less of the romance bullshit, less of the production handling. I'm just not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. And as they're getting ready, we get this kind of cute little moment of Neo asking Throb to show her how to be masculine for this character she's doing this week. It was kind of a cute little moment. As much as I don't really like either of them, I did enjoy that just in terms of like a TV thing. Okay, now we're on to the floor show. My goodness, I feel like we're zooming through this episode. Alrighty, starting off this floor show, let's get into the Boulets looks this week. I know I said last time their looks were my favorite of the season. They've topped themselves again this time. I really enjoy these a lot. I love the nail details being different sizes or only on certain fingers. I think that's really interesting. I really love the like dirty kind of yucky looking hands against the white of this fabric. I love the detail on the back that you only get to see for a split second when they're turning around. That like little ruffle detail down the spine. Oh, that's my favorite part of the whole thing. Also, honorable mention for Victoria Elizabeth Black, who looks absolutely zooted, but I can't imagine having anybody else as a guest judge for a challenge like this. And we're also joined by annual returnee Darren Stein. Nice to see him again. But let's get into these looks, okay? Starting things off this week, we have Throb Zombie serving a little demon priest moment. Honestly, I think if Throb's props had worked, again, I know he has immunity this week, but this is like the third time now that his props have gone against him, which I do think is funny. Had they worked, I genuinely think Throb could have won this challenge solely because Throb had two very distinctly different characters and was one of the only people who did. And the way he performed when the black light hit was completely different than when the black lights were off. And I loved that. I thought that was such a smart idea to really show the transition in character. There's some really cool details in this too. The makeup under the blacklight was my favorite out of everybody's realistically as a whole. I loved that there were all these hidden details on the garment that didn't show up unless it was under the blacklight. I think Throb made a really good use of the challenge and did a lot of really smart things with the details. I personally enjoyed this. I did think the hat was a little cow. Let's just say this demon priest would be serving communion. And just like that, I can already feel my subscriber count dropping. Next up, we have Fantasia, who, based on this starting silhouette alone, I was so excited. This is one of my favorite silhouettes that we have seen in this entire competition. I think the idea of her being the snake before, and then when the black light hits, you can kind of see some like skeleton details on the bodysuit. So then it sort of looks like the snake has expanded and is sort of see-through. And the judges talk about it kind of having this ghostly quality that really take it somewhere really transformative on stage. However, I think she was really hindered by the tail being so long that her feet stuck out under the dress, which I get, like, that's really a performance you can't wear a shoe as well in. I think she could have done like some form of like a dance shoe, just so that way her feet were covered instead of it just being like neon tights sticking out. It was really distracting, but there were some detailed things with her outfit too, like some busting seams, but her look under the black lights was one of my favorites, and her initial look silhouette, just in that first shot when she comes around the corner, busting seams aside, was, I think, my favorite of the episode overall. Next up, we have Blackberry. At first, I really didn't like this because I thought the sarcophagus shape when she's just walking down the runway was so basic, When she opened it up, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is really interesting. It's when the black light hit, though, that I was completely sold. She has really smart color choices throughout this where it doesn't all feel the same. There's some nice shift to it, and it's sort of this like cybernetic Egypt. I will say, I do know she said her inspiration point was Anubis this week, but I think if she was gonna do Anubis, she needed either like a long prosthetic nose piece, or she needed like more vertical ears, because the way the ears were on this with the hair, which I loved the hair on this so much. It was giving more Bastet, so like the wrong Egyptian god for what she was going for, but oh, this looked so cool under the black lights. It was another one that was one of my favorites under the light post-transformation, but it really wasn't two different characters, realistically. It wasn't two different looks. It was just, here's my look before, and then it's open, and then the black light's on while it's open. I loved seeing her go actual more monster-y this time, though. There's a shot of her, like, looking down with her eyes shut. The way she did her eyes with this, that's a cool feature. That's a smart choice, Blackberry. I see you. I'm picking up what you're putting down here. Next up, we have Orgotic. To me, this was one of the most visually interesting looks starting out that Orgotic has done all season. I really actually liked it quite a bit. But to me, nothing about this says haunted house. Nothing about this says 1980s. And then the UV hits, and then I'm still confused as to what it is. If this is like a clown. This is now the second week in a row where nothing that Orgotic did makes sense at all for the challenge or in general. It's just a really hard to read concept. I think Orgotic is such like a very specific sort of visionary when it comes to their character. I just don't think some of these challenges really fit with Orgotic's sense of style, which is fine, but this is also now the third time at least that I can remember off the top of my head where I don't see how Orgotic's look fits the challenge at all. Next up, we have Cynthia Doll. Just based on this first look, I think she was shafted from the jump with her concept. I don't think it was a good idea because it's not something that is immediately readable. Her whole idea of being the girl who works at the haunted house who lures you in and then surprise she's been the monster all along, I don't think is something that is super easy to translate into a look. And if you can translate it into a look, it would not be like this. This first look before the reveal, hated it. I thought it looked so clunky. It definitely read as 1980s, but I just was not a fan. She shot herself in the foot from the jump with this, and this just was not it, diva. I will say, however, though, the blacklight performance sold me. Her makeup is definitely one of the more visually impressive ones under the blacklight. I really appreciated the fact that it changed as much as it did. The spitting, the neon orange paint or whatever it was, in terms of like cinematic visuals, looked great. I loved that. That was the best thing she did all episode, outside of not knowing geometry. I just don't think that was enough. And finally, we have Neo's look. Had you told me, like, blind lineup, who do I think this look would have belonged to, I would have never expected it to be Neo. I think one of my favorite things that she does is like a running thing in her looks is that she has like Chinese characters somewhere into the designs. I wish I knew what they were, but the fact that she had one hidden on the back of this bodysuit that was UV reactive, that's cool. That's another really smart choice. I think she has great ideas. She executes them well. Unlike her filth performance where she had maybe one too many things going on and it hindered her overall performance, I think this one, she had enough stuff to play with that really added to the performance, really made it fit within that haunted house world, and it was gross. It was filthy. It was creepy. She really did it for me. I really like the color palette of this. I think the kind of Hello Kitty headpiece is arguably my favorite part of the entire thing because it's so twisted, but the makeup she has underneath, where the mouth is like a cat mouth lined with UV reactive fangs so it just glows under the lights. It's so good. So good. Once again, I really hate that I don't like her because if I did, she would probably be who I'd be rooting for the whole season, realistically. For me, she's up there with Victoria in terms of the best technical artists that this show has ever had. Okay, getting into judgment, the Boulets say once again that nobody did what they wanted them to do for this challenge, which feels like a massive shortcoming on the Boulets' fault, because if nobody's doing what you're expecting them to do for the challenge, I think maybe you're being a little too vague with what you want them to do for the challenge. I would not be at all surprised if what they are finding out from the videos is different than what they're being told in production when they're told to prep things, which is a fault on the production side. What do I know? I'm not involved with that. They set up asking the question of who should go home and why, with saying that nobody's fighting and everybody's getting along and that they need to stir the pot a little. Make some interesting drama. No, you don't. Their whole thing saying that nobody was fighting and everybody was getting along. It's like yes, that was what I liked about this episode so far, was that people were getting along. It just seemed like 6 people ready for the competition, working on their stuff. I thought about this a bit earlier today. If Throb is so concerned with the competition and so concerned about winning it and putting his eyes on a new target once he got Jay taken out of the competition, who was that target? But at the same time, you know Neo is competition for you. So, if you're so focused on the game and taking people out one by one, why help her? Why help your competitor do well if you're nobody's ally in this competition, allegedly? Then why are you helping people? To me, that's ally behavior. It just makes Throb look more and more two-faced. And then it feels like this episode was like the Throb Zombie PR tour of trying to make him look, you know, non-microaggressive, whatever. So they call the monsters back. They're each asked to name who they think is going to go home. And for the first time in Dragula history, and I think for the first time really in drag competition history that I can recall, everybody names a different person. So everybody is named to go home. Cynthia names Throb, even though he has immunity this week, because he has consistent performance issues with props not working. Throb, surprise, surprise, names Fantasia because she's not doing dark enough stuff, which, like, I don't think you need to do, like, crazy dark stuff to win Dragula. Blackberry names Neo because she's the biggest competition. Neo names Cynthia because of track record, the lack of wins compared to everybody else. Orgotic names Blackberry kind of for the same reason as Fantasia, that there's not enough darkness there. There's not enough grit and grime. It's all polish. And Fantasia names Orgotic for having repetitive ideas for everything being the same. Silly Fantasia, don't you know the Boulets only want you to do the one thing that they cast you to do? So Blackberry, Neo Hulu, and Throb are the top 3 of the week. Throb is declared safe because he's got immunity, Blackberry is declared safe, and Neo Hulu is declared the winner, the first one in the competition to earn multiple wins. So congratulations to her. I think ultimately the performance is what pushed her over the edge. I don't think her look was inherently the most transformative under the black light. I think of those 3, Throb made the most of that part of the challenge. I would have given the win to Throb, but I think the performance prop issue is what bumped him down and allowed Neo to pass him up and take the win this week. So I'm not mad at it. It took 7 episodes. Fantasia is called safe, and Orgotic and Cynthia are left as the bottom 2. No surprise there. This week's extermination finds Cynthia and Orgotic going through a laser maze where every wrong move they make will send an electric shock right into their neck. This seems like a health hazard, especially the fact that they're told that if they end up getting shocked into being unconscious, excuse me? Like, I know they signed up for this, but that seems like a concern. But they're told that if they get shocked into being unconscious, they will be immediately eliminated from the competition. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. This is now the 3rd time this season, I believe, that people are getting some form of electric stimulus sent into their bodies. They get tased the first episode. Jay and Fantasia had that birth pain simulator thingy last week. And now this. I think the Boulets have an electrocution fetish. just a smidge, just a little bit of one. Just based on the talking heads this episode from Orgotic, it seems like Orgotic is going home the entire episode, because Orgotic doesn't really understand the challenge. Orgotic is lamenting about how much they love Neohulu. There's comments made from some of the other monsters that it feels like Neo is focused on the competition and Orgotic is focused on Neo. And I think that's sort of the energy that they're going to be pushing storyline-wise going forward, is that Neo is just going to be consistently doing really, really well. And then you've got Orgotic, who's just like in love. But from a storyline perspective, I think Neo winning on an episode where Orgotic goes home would make a lot of sense. Especially just like the way the episode is structured. I don't know. When you watch enough reality TV, you can tell when people are gonna get eliminated just based on like talking heads. And Cynthia's talking heads this episode did not give me eliminated. Orgotic's did. So them being like, surprise, Orgotic makes it through the maze, and Cynthia keeps making mistakes and keeps going to the wrong places and falls over. We don't see if Cynthia makes it through the maze or not. We see that Orgotic does. And to me, that was all the confirmation I needed that Cynthia was going to be the one eliminated this week, which ultimately Cynthia is exterminated. Like I predicted last week, I called it spot on. These clowns in color are so much creepier. I don't like them any more than what I did when they were in grayscale. In fact, I think I like them less. This death scene also felt really long. It was like 3.5 minutes. And it was mostly just Cynthia walking through this haunted house going, oh no, oh, as the Boulets chased her with chainsaws while wearing clown masks. I felt like you could have cut like a minute at least out of this, and it would have been fine. Well, we've lost the season's narrator, and for the first time all season, based on the challenge alone, I do not agree with who gets eliminated. Based on the extermination, if what we saw is the truth and Cynthia didn't make it to the maze, then yes, I agree she should have gone home. However, if we are going strictly based off of the challenges and the performances this week, no, it should have been Orgotic. I swear to God, if this next episode Orgotic just completely does not do the challenge or completely misses the theme and they stay, I will be angry. I'm just saying, I will be. So I believe we're getting an episode next week, but then they're taking the 2 weeks after that off and it's coming back in January. It's either that or we get 2 more episodes and then the break. I'm not sure, but I do know there is a 2-week break between episodes coming pretty soon. I'm hoping to get caught back up in that time. So fingers crossed that that will happen, because I quite literally, for this UV play along look, I'm going to have to design my look traditionally and then scan it and then digitally transform it into whatever the UV thing is. And I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with it quite yet. But that concludes episode 7. We are nearing the end of the season. Hallelujah! Mostly because I'm just excited for what we're gonna do next on the channel. If you haven't seen, I did upload a VOD from streams of my reaction to the Game Awards as an official co-streamer for my 3rd year. I would really, really love if you would just throw that video on and just let it run in its entirety. It's like 4 hours long. The watch time we can rack up together as a community on that. Oh, it would be wonderful. And if you've enjoyed my review and my commentary, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, and even better, drop a subscription. Help me get up to that 500 mark. On average, about 40% of the people who are watching these videos are not subscribed. I've got some really cool things coming in 2024. We're gonna be getting back into doing some draws plays, and I'm so excited for that. And if you're not familiar with that, be sure to go check out my Instagram. You can scroll down and see a whole bunch of them. It's where I take drag makeup, characters or other drag artists, and digital illustration, and combine all of it to completely transform myself into someone else. It's so much fun to do. It's one of my favorite things, and I've basically taken about a year off from doing it. So we're gonna be getting back to that. So we'll be coming at you with some new content for that in 2024, and I cannot wait to show you some of the stuff I've been working on for it. And if you're a Pokemon diva out there, be sure to go follow me over on Twitch and join the caravan over there. At the time this video will come out, we will have probably finished the story, but we'll be shiny hunting like crazy over there. So be sure to swing by, say hi, set a spell. The link for all of that is in the description below. I will see you all next time. So until then, be sure to stay kind, stay queer, toodle boo!